There I was, sitting in a tree. It was a beautiful fall morning. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and most importantly, the deer were moving. I had barely sat down in my tree stand when I saw the first doe walking across the field. Shortly after that, I saw a small buck walk out. After about an hour in the stand, and seeing many deer, there he was. He was running towards me. He was by no means the biggest buck I had ever seen, but he was the biggest buck that I ever had the opportunity to shoot. I waited, I watched, I readied my weapon, and finally at the perfect time, thwack, perfect shot. Today I'm going to inform you about my favorite weapon to hunt with, which is the crossbow. I'll be going over the parts of the crossbow, I'll be discussing the specific crossbow I use, as well as the arrows and the scope. Finally, I'll show you how the crossbow is shot. First, we're going to talk about the parts of a crossbow. So on this crossbow, this is going to be your stock. This here is referred to as the sight bridge. This is your sight or your scope. This piece here is called a flight groove. Believe it or not, this string here is called a string. These are considered cables. These are your cams or your wheels. These are limbs, and in this case for the crossbow, these are split limbs. This is referred to as a riser. This is your cocking stirrup, like a stirrup that you would put your feet in when you're riding a horse, and I'll explain that in a moment. This is your serving. This is your quiver down here, where you're actually it's gonna hold all your arrows. This piece right here is the foregrip. Down here it's referred to typically as an arrow retention spring. This particular model just has bristles that are actually going to hold the arrow in place. Down here is a latch. So when this is cocked, you're going to make sure that the nock in your arrow is pressed up against this. And finally, just the most important part of this is going to be the trigger. Next, let's talk about this specific crossbow. So according to Barnett's website, BarnettCrossbows.com, this is going to retail for roughly $499. Thankfully, that price includes 3 arrows as well as the scope. It has a lightweight composite stock, and it only weighs about 6.9 pounds. It's about 3 feet long, it's about 21 inches wide, and the camo pattern used in this is a Realtree Max. The scope on this is 4x32 reticle. The 4 means it's 4 times magnification. The 32 means that it's 32 millimeter scope. This scope is water resistant and shockproof. And you can find this particular scope if you wanted to buy it separately for anywhere between $70 and $100 on Amazon. The arrows that I shoot are headhunter arrows, and they retail on Barnett Crossbows for about $39.99 for 5 arrows. Finally, let me show you how the crossbow is shot. So this crossbow also comes with a rope cocking device, and that device has 2 handles as well as 2 hooks on it. And how that works is there's a groove here where you're going to put the arrow in, put the rope in, and then the hooks grab here. All right. Then you put this on the ground, you put your foot in the cocking stirrup to hold it down, and then you're going to pull with both hands. Now this actually has 135 pounds is what it takes to actually cock it, and this particular crossbow shoots at 350 feet per second. The nice thing about this crossbow is once you cock it, it automatically goes into safe mode. Okay, the only way that you can put it into fire mode is when you put an arrow in there. Otherwise, it'll just stay in safe for as long as it's cocked. And the way to uncock it is either you have to shoot an arrow, or they have what's called dummy arrows that you can shoot directly into the ground, and that's specifically what they're made for. So just as a disclaimer, you would never dry fire one of these because it would ruin the strings and the cables. Okay? So in conclusion, the crossbow is a very efficient weapon for hunting. The first time I shot one, I knew that I wanted one. It's fast, it's silent, it's accurate, and that is why the crossbow is my favorite weapon to hunt with. Thank you.